Hello everybody. Quick disclaimer, I don't know everything about this game, and this video may not contain all of the relevant information on today's topic. Disclaimer over, we are now going to be diving deep into the uses of mechanized Chinchompas. Starting with the basics, you need level 75 ranged to wield these thrown weapons. Despite this, they have tier 82 damage and tier 75 accuracy. Why they're not tier 78 is beyond me. You can buy them on the Grand Exchange or make them with the invention skill after unlocking the blueprints from the Cave Goblin technology tree. They are crafted by combining the tier 55 red Chinchompas with these invention materials. As you should be aware, the world of Gielinor is laid out in large tiles. Chinchompas deal damage in a 3x3 tile area of effect, emanating from the centre tile. Against NPCs that are one tile large, this makes using Chinchompas easy to understand. You throw your chins, and anything adjacent to that enemy also gets hit. However, I'd like to show you how to effectively target large enemies with Chinchompas, still achieving optimal area of effect. A great place to see this in action and practice is in the Dragonkin laboratory, as you've got loads of large enemies. After you've prayed melee, used devotion, and chinned your way through the slimes, you want to hug the right wall and then double surge down the stairs and smack this dude down. In the background, you'll have aggroed these two dragons, who you have to kill anyway to open the next barrier. The scenery and your position stacks them perfectly to be chinned, allowing me to hit the most northeastern one and deal damage to both of them at the same time. But why does this work? AOEs spread from the southwestern tile of all non-blocking enemies greater than one tile large. If I throw chins at a large enemy, the tiles will look something like this. Any enemies whose tiles overlap with the area of effect damage will also get hit. The next set of mobs are a great place to practice your Chincendiary shots. Wait, you don't know what that is? It's where you stall Incendiary Shot with a two-handed weapon and then release it with Chinchompas. If you do it perfectly, you'll literally one-shot every single golem from full HP. When activated, Incendiary Shot fires an explosive arrow at your target, which detonates after 3 seconds, dealing 250 to 350% weapon damage to all targets in a 3x3 area around that target. When you release this ability with chins, rather than throwing one explosive arrow, you're throwing up to 9 all at once. Therefore, you'll actually deal between 2,250 and 3,150 ability damage to everything in range when it detonates. Learning to stall an ability is best learned with melee. In this example, I am using a scythe which has 2 tiles of range. I'm going to attack this dummy, then walk out of range. When I activate my next ability, my character will be forced to run towards the dummy to release it. However, if you click the ground to prevent your character from running, you'll have successfully stalled the ability. If you drop combat or use any other ability other than Bladed Dive, the stalled ability will vanish into thin air. However, if you quickly click the target again, you can then release it before you drop combat. You can also change to different weapons and release it with those. In this example, I stalled Hurricane, and here's me releasing it with Drygors. The same principle can be applied to ranged weapons, it's just a little bit harder since you have to stand a lot further away from the target. Here I stall Incendiary Shot with a Wyvern crossbow, then I switch to Chinchompas and an offhand ascension, click the dummy again and release it. Once you can do this, practice it on some real mobs where the area of effect mechanic can come into play. Trust me, it's so much fun. Unfortunately, this double AOE effect doesn't work with Corruption Shot. This is because when a target is bleeding, and then that bleed is used on them again, it doesn't stack, but instead, it just overwrites the ability. This is very important to know if you do a lot of group PVM and you don't want to miss out on DPS. However, you can still use chins to bleed multiple targets at once with Fragmentation Shot. It's unlikely you'll do this, but beware of using Onslaught with Chinchompas equipped. You'll initially be drained of 25% adrenaline per monster struck, then resume the normal mechanics of Onslaught. To those who are unfamiliar with this ultimate ability, Onslaught drains your adrenaline by 25% every hit, and then at 0% adrenaline, starts draining your life points. However, the longer that you can channel Onslaught for, the harder each hit will get. In this example, I hit 2 aerits at once. I lost 50% adrenaline and then proceeded to almost one-shot myself. Maybe I'll research this ability a little more closely for a future video. Sacrifice will hit all targets, but you'll only be healed for the damage dealt to your main target. Regardless of whether or not you're on task, Tuska's Wrath will not deal area of effect damage when cast with Chinchompas. Bombardment, Ricochet, and Greater Ricochet are also unaffected by Chinchompas. Since the Essence of Finality Amulet update, we can now use Chinchompas with even more abilities. The two which are most worthwhile are the Darkbow Spec and the Darkbow Spec. The Darkbow just deals a massive amount of damage at the cost of a massive chunk of adrenaline, but it's exceptionally good at Rise of the Six and at Shattered Worlds. The Darkbow Spec is rather interesting. It's such an interesting weapon that it probably needs a video all of its own. Nonetheless, the special attack allows you to rather inaccurately fire 5 arrows into the air, which have a greater chance of hitting your target the larger the enemy is. But if you use Chinchompas and can hit 9 enemies at once while casting Crystal Rain, that's 45 arrows. Using a stalled incendiary shot into another incendiary shot into a Chin SGB, Hellware Pleb was able to skip all mechanics at Solo Astellan. Go check out his video after this, which explains how he did it in a lot more detail than I ever could. For us mere mortals, Chin SGB is still awesome at places like Elite Dungeon 2, since you can make the most of the 30-second cooldown and then hit multiple enemies at once with it. As for the other uses for Chinchompas, the list is almost endless. Pretty much anywhere with multiple enemies, they're just great. But now I want to hear from you guys. Have I missed anything out that people need to hear when it comes to these explosive fuzzy things? Perhaps the best items to disassemble to make them and then make a ton of profit with invention. Let me hear what you have to say in the comment section down below. Remember to subscribe to see more videos like this. I've been Seanikinz, so as always, Chinchompas are OP.